All right, I'm gonna give it the go ahead. Looks like I don't see any more jumping on, but I'm in the morning time, so good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are in the United States. Um, my name is Mike Sturgill. I'm the sales manager for Trident Actuators. We're gonna usually this takes about an hour. We schedule an hour and a half, but I don't think we've gone past an hour. Just so everyone knows, you will get a copy of the presentation at the end of it. We are recording it, but you will get a copy of the presentation. So you've got myself, you got our managing director, Dennis, and then you got our director of engineering, Chris, on the phone. So I'll do most of the talking. They're going to jump in when I forget something. I will not go word for word on the slides, I promise, because you're going to get a copy of it. But, try to introduce you into the Trident actuator world. We'll talk about Trident actuators in general at real elementary. We'll talk about Trident actuators. We'll talk about, where you can put them in the water cycle. We'll talk a little bit about competitors and give some case studies. So like I said, you'll get a copy of this. Please feel free to jump in. It will not hurt my feelings. So it's interactive. It's not wait till the end and ask questions. If something comes to your head, ask the question. But with that said, I'm gonna turn my video off because it seems it's easier when I'm doing the presentation. Not that anything goofy, even though I'm in a hotel room, but when I'm in South Georgia and my Wi-Fi is crazy, so I've just gotten used to that. But please ask questions, and we're gonna kick this off. First off, everyone can see my screen, I hope. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So like I kind of said, Trident Actuators, just to kind of give you who our support team is here. And this isn't, our field service or who assemble. This is more of who you'll be dealing with. You got Dennis, managing director, Chris, director of engineering, myself, and then we actually have a mechanical CAD designer, Brian Carey, who's not on the call. Basically converting all our stuff into 3D modeling. And then we're looking for an electrical engineer as well. So we're for those who were not, I think everyone here is a newer sales partners. We were acquired in September of last year by Ed Gaffney. So we're definitely in growth mode to grow and support our sales partners as we grow out. The United States is exactly what we're doing. So real elementary, what is an actuator? It's a device that makes something move or operate. There's two types of actuators. There's a linear, which moves an object in a straight line, and a rotary, which moves an object in a circular motion. Actuators all around you. You walk in the grocery store and how the doors open, and a lot of places, malls, where they open automatically, that there's actuators inside of those doors. Actuators move basically three different ways: electrically, where they use electricity; hydraulically, where it's a variety of liquids; and then pneumatically, where it's compressed air. So that's just what are actuators. And then we're going to go obviously more into depth on what the Trident actuator is. So what's different with ours compared to those three is our actuator is an electrohydraulic actuator. So we operate valves and gates basically through a pressurized hydraulic fluid, but our main source of energy is electricity. So it is an electric actuator, but we have a fail-safe hydraulic hydraulic oil and accumulator to help in the event of an emergency. And I'll talk more about that after a couple slides. But our actuator is self-contained inside of a cylinder. These are our actuators here. This is South Nevada Water Authority. Inside there, we have oil reservoirs, accumulators, hydraulic manifolds, and motors. So that's what makes it an electric hydraulic actuator. Trident Actuators, this is actually our facility. Everything is assembled in Mamaroneck, New York, which is just north of New York City, south of Greenwich, Connecticut. We obviously look at water, wastewater, and heavy industrial is where our applications are. And we are looking for the most critical applications. I can't say that enough. We want the critical applications. Words you're going to hear from me a lot today are critical, reliable, and customizable. So you'll probably get tired of those, and maybe, I don't know, I told the guys we may have to make a drinking game for that every time I say it. But we have about 300 installations in over 90 different locations, mostly United States, and then we have installations in Hong Kong, Saudi Arabia, and Vancouver, Canada. So, and like I said, you see every actuator is a customized solution. I can't say enough. You're going to hear reliable, customizable, and obviously, like I said, a lot and critical. So our actuators are built to work with any size diameter valve and gate. Um, our actuators and panels are submersible and explosion proof. And then obviously we work with the valve or gate manufacturers on end user calculations, flow and pressure to determine the correct size actuator. Most of the actuators have standard parts, but obviously the different size gates and valves kind of tell us what size motors inside the actuator, obviously how big the oil reservoir is, and the accumulator. Every actuator comes with a control panel, and we do have, for you that have field service technicians, we do have annual preventive maintenance checks, so there's opportunity to make some extra money for your companies with those. Our largest capacity installation thus far is New York City at a wastewater treatment plant, where we have 6 actuators that are on 84-inch by 146-inch influent gates. That plant has a capacity of 350 MGD. Average lifespan in our field is about 20 years for actuators. So it goes back to reliability. They're installed, and for the most part, they operate. And unless really that actuator tells you something's wrong, they just go to work. Why maybe did you partner with us is because we have, you'll see in the case studies, a blue chip install base. So they're big cities that trust our reliability for their critical needs. Also, we complement your other products, whether you have pump or valve lines. So, we're kind of a complement to what you're already out selling. One thing we are a highly specifiable product. So, being on the front side with consultant and design engineers is where we want to be in your sales cycle, but we are highly specifiable. Now I'm going to jump into our actuators more in depth, types of valves and gates, and then we'll talk about our control panels as well. So this kind of will be more of I would say, the technical side of the presentation. And like I said, if you have questions, jump in. I know that first part was pretty simple. So we offer, 2 different actuators: rotary, that moves an object in a circular motion, and linear, which moves an object in a straight line. So the picture you see here is actually a rotary actuator of ours. This is the rotary mechanism. If it was a video, you'd see it spin, open and close type of deal that would connect to the valve or gate mounting rod. So we have, in the rotaries, you'll know when you get quotes from us what's a rotary actuator by a 2 in the front. We have 4 basic model numbers. A 2000 series is a rotary actuator with fail set or fail in place. What that means is our actuator would be installed. If there's a power loss, that gate or valve will be basically where it is at that time at power loss and will not open or close until power is restored. If it's a 2 and a 5 or a 2500 series, that is our rotary actuator, and it has fail safe on command or power loss. So those are the actuators that, have the reservoir, the accumulator, and the hydraulic manifold. So say there is a power loss, that you can hit a emergency safe button remotely or at the panel, and you will have that stored energy, high pressure stored energy in the accumulator that would close or open the valve or gate, whatever sequence, end user wants. So, that's the big difference. Fail in place, power's out, that gate or valve stays where it's at until power is restored. Fail safe gives you the opportunity to close that valve or gate or open, whatever you want. You can do it on command or power loss. So we've had a lot of customers that like the on command because maybe they have a simple 1-second power loss. It goes into fail safe. Maybe the gate closes and a big gate's closed, and then they have no way of opening it until they have power restored outside of a manual hand pump. So we'll talk about some options there. So, but that's, on command or power loss. So basically, if you see a 3, that's a linear actuator, 3000 series. You would have a linear actuator that moves in a straight line, and it's set or fail in place. So power outage, gate or valve stays where it's at until power is restored. If it's a 3500 series, that's our linear actuator, once again with fail safe on command or power loss. So you have the oil reservoir accumulator. You have, a high pressured accumulator that has the power to open or close that gate or valve in the event of a power loss, or if a customer wants to close it on command. So like I said, 2 big Two different actuators, rotary, linear. Both of them we can do a fail in place or a fail safe on command or power loss. And we'll actually have some pictures of the inside of these, so it's easier to see when I say that. So where to use linear or rotary actuators? Linear actuators are used for cone valves, knife valves, gate valves, and globe valves, as well as gates. Obviously, they move in a straight line to open or close those valves or gates. You can use linear or rotary on butterfly, ball valves, or plug valves. It's ultimately up to the end user which one they want to do. And then one thing we've noticed over time is that metal seated ball valves and rotary cone valves are typically on pump control valves. And those are obviously, the pumps are a highly expensive asset that are critical, once again, a critical asset that the end user doesn't want to lose or doesn't want to have to repair in the event of any type of catastrophe. So metal seated ball valves and rotary cone valves are expensive valves to control expensive pumps, and then they're critical. So our Trident actuator typically goes on one of those with a fail safe. So it would be the one on power loss. So if they lose power, you have that emergency safe with the high pressure accumulator that would close that valve, most likely, to prevent any type of water hammer or back pressure to hit those pumps. So one thing I'll tell you is look at critical applications. You'll hear that a lot from me, and a lot of those are the pump control valves as well as influent gates. You'll see a lot of opportunity for our actuators throughout the different water cycles. But, if you're going in and looking at opportunity with the Trident actuator, I would start at your influent gates, critical to close so they don't destroy any, there's no catastrophe on the system, or your pump control valves. And you'll see a lot of those in the case studies. So real quick, if you're not used to it, or haven't messed with valves or gates, you got a butterfly valve on the far left, a gate valve, a knife valve, a plug valve. You have a globe valve on the far left, a ball valve, and a cone valve. And then, as I was talking about these pump control valves, you have a rotary cone valve and you have a metal seated ball valve. And then here's obviously an influent gate. So really critical applications are you probably using one of these three gates or valves. I'm going to skip through this. These are just diagrams. This is the 2000, so it doesn't have so it's a rotary, fail in place. You wouldn't have an accumulator, a hydraulic manifold. 2500, right here, the big difference when you get this, look at it. Here's a hydraulic manifold. So this has fail on power loss, fail safe on power loss or command. Another just 2500, different view of it. 3000, once again, linear, up and down, straight line. This is fail in place. So power loss, gator valve stays where it's at until it's opened or until power comes back on. And then just the 3500, once again, just so you can see some differences. You got your cylinder here. The accumulator tells you it's fail safe. So that accumulator is what gets pressurized by the oil reservoir and is able to close or open the valve or gate in the emergency that is needed. So this nice picture here shows you what's underneath the enclosure. Our standard enclosure is 3/16 stainless steel, including the base plate. Our hydraulic tubing you see here is 3/16 stainless steel. Obviously, there's high pressure oil going through there. This is a linear, so it's a straight line motion. Here's the rod that we would connect to these were actually 30-inch valves. We would connect to the valve. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Here's your hydraulic manifold. Here is your hydraulic cylinder with your rod to connect to the valve or gate. In this case, it was a 30-inch valve, and we use position transducers to be able to tell you what position that valve is in on the control panel. Your hydraulic reservoir is right here that pressurizes the accumulator. You can't really see the accumulator; it's on the back side. You'll see it better on our next picture, but you have isolation valves and manual override hand pump. So really, if it's a fail-safe actuator, you have three different ways it can operate. Primarily, it will be electric. You will have the control panel where you can open and close. At the panel, you can have it tied into your customer SCADA, and they can do it remotely. And then obviously you have the accumulator in hydraulic manifold. So if you have the emergency fail safe, that high pressure nitrogen will close or open the valve however quick or slow you want it to do in the event of power loss on command. And then on top of that, you have a manual. It's down here, like I said, override hand pump. So let's say it closed and they want to open it back up and they've had power outage for a while. You could literally manually open that valve. These 3500 models were for Los Angeles County PD we sent out this year. And that 30-inch valve, in the event of fail safe, had to close in 10 seconds. So just to give you an idea, but that timing can change. It's up to the end user. This is, once again, it is a 3500 linear actuator. We call this our split system, but same model you just saw, just in a split system. Obviously, here's your hydraulic manifold, your hydraulic pump, reservoir, and accumulator up here. Here's your cylinder and your position transducers. And here's that manual override pump and the directional valves that you couldn't see under the base plate. So like I said, hey, go, they make the valve close and they want to open it. They haven't had electricity restored. They literally will hand pump it to get it open the valve. There are options, just so you know, like I talk about custom. We can build a bigger reservoir and accumulator to have more stored energy for the end user in the event they don't want to, hand pump that 10,000 times to open a valve. So that is an opportunity as well. So just to give you an idea, but this is just same model 3500 that you just saw, just a different configuration, and shows you the hand pump a little better. And our actuators can be mounted vertically or horizontally on valves. We can actually mount them not on top of a valve. You'll see in the case studies where we have our actuator that's mounted to the side of that very large installation. So a lot of different options there for however the end user wants to do it. Why we did a split system is fitment issues, actually. And then for vibration, we've had to do that, just to give you an idea why there's a difference between the two, or why we even did this. So I said before, every actuator comes with a control panel, and what you see there is for the actuator I just showed you, the 3500, that is linear, fail safe, going to Los Angeles County. This is the control panel that went with it. You can see we have a HMI screen that you can operate, and then we have knobs for redundancy. If it's not customized by the end user, we would probably use an Allen Bradley MicroLogic 1400 PLC. We have dry contacts for SCADA integration. We have Schneider motor starters, and this is all built in our shop in Mamaroneck. That's a UL 508 panel shop. So this is pretty much the standard panel you would see when you would purchase an actuator. But we can do more than just that. This is actually, these are larger cabinets they're in, but this is one setup for an actuator. This is a second actuator, and this is a third. So there's actually 6 actuators in these 2 panels for this job. We designed the controls to the project specific. We have panels are NEMA 12, 4X, 7 for explosion proof, and we have a 6P. Obviously, like I showed you, you have HMI, we have relay logic backup. We also have variable frequency drives if you need it, the dry contacts for SCADA. And one big thing is you dig further into the electric hydraulic actuator market. Our biggest competitor, you'll see later, is Rexa out of Massachusetts. So if you hear their name, they're probably our biggest competitor when it comes to electric hydraulic. And in their control panels, they have proprietary parts. So if you need parts, you have to buy it from them and use one of their service techs. One big advantage to Trident is we build these with available components. There's no proprietary components. So most anything inside these cabinets, they can go to the local supply house or Grainger and buy in the event that they need to do some replacement. And things that are going to go wrong, in the first, in the lifetime of our actuators, probably somewhere inside the control panel just over time. I mean, there's a lot of parts here. It's very clean, but a lot of parts. We have no proprietary components. We make it easy on our end users. Typically, customers have emergency backup power on site, but another option we have is a uninterruptible power source, or a UPS, that we can sell and install with our actuators and control panels. We have had to sell a generator before for backup power. Customer requested it, so different options there as well. So, like I said, you're gonna hear customizable a lot. Our enclosures standard are 3/16 stainless. We can do aluminum. We can do a plastic or fiberglass. We just feel that our actuator being unitized and isolated. We want to keep debris and dust outside of it. That's why I say they don't want 3/16. They don't need it because they don't need the submersibility. They don't want aluminum. Hey, we can always go to something different. We have the split system design I showed you earlier. I showed you we use 3/16 stainless steel tubing for the high pressure hydraulic oil. We can use high pressure hydraulic lines, and that would be because of vibration issues. I talked about submersible control panels, NEMA 6P, or I put submersible twice, and we also have submersible power cable. And then we have explosion proof, or NEMA 7. This is an explosion proof panel. Instead of that hand pump, we can do a drill bit. They can pull out their battery packed drill or power impact and open or close in the event that power is lost and they want to open or close or whatever the sequence is, and not use the hand pump. And then this here is just a customizable enclosure we built for a customer with a hatch so they can get into it, but this is 3/16 stainless steel, so a lot of opportunity. I mean, really, we can customize to whatever our end user wants, so which opens a lot of doors and gives us versatility. So just know that we can customize to whatever your customer wants. We have still 4 main models: 2000, 2500, which are rotaries, 3000, 3500, which is linear, but we can customize control panels or even the actual actuators to what the customer is looking for. So, which is really makes us, once again, versatile. So this next section, it's not as technologically, it's not as technical, I'm sorry, as the last one, but we're going to talk about where we fit in the water cycle, and where you can find our actuators. So what do? We want the critical valve or gate application where failing is not an option. We want to protect infrastructure from catastrophe. So, like I said, critical influent gates and pump control valves, those are where you should look. But anywhere, if you haven't looked and you're in somewhere that has any type of valve or gate, look to see what's operating it. We can work in submersible applications. Both, like I said, our actuator and control panels are submersible. Once again, customization, we can do any customization needed by the customer. And then reliability. We are really, reliability, customization, and critical applications are where we shine. So we're across the water cycle, whether it's municipal, water, wastewater, or you have these same processes in industrial, from extraction to storage, distribution, collections, treatment, and water release. So really all across these cycles, you can find a Trident actuator where there's a gate or valve. In the water treatment process, influent gate, like I said, our biggest installation in New York City, and a huge influent gate to protect the rest of the system for water. The pump control valve in the system, and then we would put our 25 and 3500, so rotary and linears, on the waste activated sludge and return activated sludge. But once again, those are what we consider critical. There are valves and gates throughout this process. Trident's actuators can be put there. Like we point out, just to give you an idea, on the isolation valves, you could use the 2000 rotary or 3000 linear, where you don't need fail safe. They open once or twice a year. But there are, just so you know, don't confuse electric hydraulic with electric mechanical. Electric mechanical is a much cheaper commoditized actuator that there's really not competition there. with us because they're just, you can go buy them for a very cheap price. And they're just there to open and close, and it's very simple. But so that's why we say, go attack the critical spots and fluent gates, pump control valves first, and then you show the reliability of the Trident actuator, and you will get in these other places because of the reliability for sure. Water treatment, same thing. Front side on the gates coming in, and then obviously at your pump control valves, you'll see a lot of case studies pumping clean water out to different areas. But once again, here, there's all these spots. There's gates or valves that you can put a Trident actuator installed in the system. Pump stations. Obviously, they discharge out of a pump station. So there you can put yourself a 2500 or 3500 fail safe that can protect the pumps in the station for back water hammer or back pressure. Doesn't matter, sewer, water, stormwater, combined sanitary sewer, stormwater, any pump station, you can put the actuator there to protect the assets inside of there. Deep injection wells, if you have those, same thing. Put an actuator on the discharge side to help stop a release of water. And then if you have reservoir applications, obviously at the discharge, you can put, there's typically fixed cone valves you can put there to stop discharge. And then if you're in a power generation, once again, they're big turbine pumps. You can put actuators there to protect those from any type of catastrophe. So, like I said, I didn't go word for word because I'm going to send this out to you, but just shows you where we play in the water cycle and just some different applications. So our approach is to align with sales partners like we have your firms. We're looking at manufacturer representatives. We target end users, engineering firms, contractors, the valve and gate manufacturers. We're really agnostic to all that. Because we want to put our actuator on critical applications, extreme conditions, on any valve or gate. And like I said, submersibility, explosion proof, caustic environments, doesn't matter. Our actuator can handle all of that. And then, some of these names, AECOM, CP&Y, Hazen, we work with them. And then these are some of the main, large valve or gate manufacturers, Pratt Mueller, Ross Valve, Valmatic, there's VAG, there's Whips Gates, there's a lot of them. We're installed on really any of them. So, I said we're highly specifiable products. So probably if you're with us because you do highly specifiable products as well. So build relationships with the consultant and design engineers in your territory. Project starts, find out who's in charge and who's doing the specifying and building out that project. At the same time, like we said before, you want to go after owners as well, because owners get what they want from the consultant and design engineers. So make sure you're making calls on both of them. And then, like I said, calling contractors. We want a nice bid in Texas because our sales partner there had a relationship with the contractor and we weren't even specified, but got in the door and won the bid. But we want to be specified, but are we specified 100% of the time? No. If we're not specified, use your bid services. We use Construct Connect. You got Dodge, you got Construction Journal. There's all kinds of bid services, and really just search for electro-hydraulic or electric hydraulic actuator. And really, I say don't get confused with electromechanical because typically they'll say there's some sort of fail-safe for power loss or on command. So you'll know it's an electric hydraulic actuator specification, or you'll see us or Rexa. But there are many out there like Alma, Zurich, Rotork, Limitork. That are electromechanicals that really, they're a commoditized actuator that are very, very cheap. And it's going to be hard competing against them initially. But I think once you show the reliability of the Trident actuator, you'll be able to displace those as well. Especially, we've had customers that literally have budgets to replace their electromechanical actuators yearly. So it's like you're budgeted to replace something prepared to fail. Why not just buy something reliable and save money? The initial upfront will take care of the backside of that. Big things. When you come to us, we want you to come to us and say, "Hey, Mike, Chris, I need a quote on an actuator." We're going to ask you water, wastewater, oil, gas. big thing we're going to ask, what type and size valve or gate is it? I mean, that's a very key component we need. And then we'll ask you, do you need fail safe on command? Can be fail in place or fail set. And then, initially, if it's budgetary, we're going to try to get that out to you quick. But, as we continue in the cycle from budgetary or design to, the bid hitting the street, during that time period, we're going to ask that for the things. What are space constraints? Do we need to split cover? Do they need explosion proof, or do they need submersibility? Making sure they have electric on site. Those are obviously some big needs we're going to need to know. But really, to get you a quick quote, and it's on the really, really, infant side of the project, we would just need to know the valve gate, really type and size. But the more you give us, the better we can dial in. Design considerations, we look at brand new construction of a plant or station, but we also look where they're basically replacing valves, gates, and actuators. We consider that new construction. We're going to ask the same questions I just told you. So really not a need to ask to tell you that second time on this slide. We also look at retrofit, fit, or plant and station upgrades. And that's where we say, hey, we're rotary cone valve the last 50 years. Earlier, I told you ours is about 20. So there are replacements of actuators of our own. There's replacements of failure of current actuators, which we've done for non-performance. Maybe they said they were submersible or explosion proof and they were not. And we're going to talk about it later in our competitors, but wherever there's what they call a Rodney Hunt scuba actuator, there's opportunity for us to replace those. And I'll tell you why when we get that far. But, really kind of anywhere we can fit in for design considerations we want to. Aftermarket, as I discussed, is an opportunity for your field service team. We have a yearly preventive maintenance form that we have that you can have, and really the yearly maintenance is concentrated around the control panel, as I said. And then also, is it operating how it should be? If it's a fail-safe operation, is it, you need to test it to say, is it closed in 10 seconds like it's supposed to? Really, we tell you don't go inside the enclosure unless the enclosure tells you. There is a sensor in there that will tell you something's wrong. So, don't mess around the enclosure unless you have to. And one thing about the reliability is we have one filter in there. It's basically you want to say a lifetime filter. And then our standard hydraulic oil is a transmission oil. That's a high density viscose oil that you don't have to, really replace. Now in clean water applications, we do use obviously that biodegradable vegetable oil, a little thinner, but once again, don't go inside those enclosures unless really that actuator tells you, and it will tell you. I guess everything's so far so good. I haven't had questions. So just, I guess, any questions? Are we good to go thus far?
Good to keep moving.
All right. I'll take it as silence is golden. Perfect. Now we're just going to kind of jump inside of the Trident Actuators, our team, so you kind of understand that, some processes. Then we'll go to some competitors, and then we will go to some quick case studies. Anything you need at all, there's a lot on the slide. Basically, just email me and Chris. We divvy up who does what type of deal, where it falls. If it's an engineering or type of application or something, Chris will handle, and then I handle the other things, but we'll divvy that up. So just email me and Chris for whatever needs you have. Once again, engineering capabilities. We got a director of engineering, a full-time CAD designer, and we're actually hiring for an electrical engineer. So we'll be able to give you schematics. We have actual specifications you can have. And then we'll make customized drawings. And like I said, our CAD engineer is working on 3D modeling as we speak to get us into the new century. Right now, if you ask for a submittal request, we're saying about 4 to 6 weeks. Obviously, we're trying to get that down as we continue to build out capacity. And but when me and Chris started, we were quoting like 10 to 12 weeks on submittals. So it's nice to know that we were getting into a much more manageable time frame for you. So this is our inside the factory in Mamaroneck. Just so you know, factory testing. Inside there, we do all our programming. We test all of our actuators, make sure they work. They are not coupled to anything, but they will have, the cylinder that, there's actually holes in the floor you can't see to make sure the cylinders can go where they need to go to open fully. So we do all that testing there. We basically document all the testing. And then after that, if it's a valve where it's being connected to, we would send that to whoever the valve manufacturer is. They will couple to the valve. They will do their own factory testing. And then we would go on site for a startup. And you always have a Trident actuator present for startups. If we're coupling to a gate, they typically just ship the actuators to the site, and we do the testing connected to the gate and start up there. And once again, a Trident actuator representative will be on site. Some big news for us. We have a lot of marketing tools that every one of you will have access to. We have a sales partner portal that we're trying to clean up and get it as perfect as we can. Probably roll out next week. You'll get an email and you'll be able to sign up, and there'll be different stuff in there from education to engineering to marketing. We'll have collateral, it's branded, new logos, even our website's new, different forms, brochures, presentations, all that will be inside the partner portal. We do have demo units for trade shows. Right now we have two. One's a linear, one's a rotary. This is it. It's on a hand truck, very easy to move around, plug in at a 115 volt. We're building more. So that's one thing. If you have that you're looking that you need and you want at a trade show, we want to get it there for you. Also, we have new pull-ups for trade shows. We're getting some more made. So, we can't be at every one. We'll ship them out as you need them. And most likely, I'm sure you'll probably keep them for some of your trade shows, not ship back and forth. But getting some of those done. We're also working on an engineering toolbox for specifying. So a lot of stuff happening in the background all at once. Like I said, we got acquired in September of last year. So we got a lot of things in motion to better help all of you out there in the field. Marketing continued, connect with us on LinkedIn. This is our page. We do, just like a lot of people, it's kind of LinkedIn seems to be free advertisement. We try to be strategic on that. Find Dennis, Chris, Brian, and myself, which my photos changed. I've cut all those long locks off, but get connected with us. We are, just like a lot of people putting, strategically stuff on LinkedIn. Also, we want to attend trade shows and conferences. Some of you I already have. I was with Cogent this week. I'm going to be with the GAWP down there. I saw Dave on from Templeton. We want to be at the shows right now. It's a great way for us to see customers, spend time with you. But obviously, if you have presentations you want us to be a part of, we can be in person or virtual. However we can help you try to make the ease of selling a Trident actuator better, we want to do that. We use HubSpot for our CRM. I know people have used whether it's Microsoft or Salesforce is a big one. So we're using that. That's kind of when we asked for your emails and names and cell phones, you're in there, so you could make sure you're getting the opportunity for the training courses. One thing we're going to do is we continue to build our own pipeline based on jobs or budgetary or whatever. We're going to start working better with you to say, hey, what do you see or when do you think this will happen for some of the quotes you have out there? Because the better feedback we get, the better we can meet your lead times for submittals and production. We want to meet and exceed the customer's expectation, you and then our end user. So, but we're doing, we've come into the new century using HubSpot and just making sure we're doing some stuff there to make it's stuff in the background, but it's going to make your life easier that we have, the follow-up in place. We have, the organization in place. All right. So, this part, like I said, you will get this slide deck. This part's for internal use. Don't, go send it out to people. Our electro-hydraulic competitors. You'll hear Zurich, Rotork, MEA out of Chicago, and Carey out of Pittsburgh. As I said, we're going to really concentrate on Rexa. They're we consider our biggest competitor in this market. Don't get confused. Zurich, Rexa, and Rotork all have electric mechanical actuators, so we're not playing in that market. We are in the electric hydraulic or electro-hydraulic. Another one is the central hydraulic system, where this basically has piped into different actuators on the pump control valves. Obviously there's some, kinks in that armor. There's an actual brochure on the sales partner that says how to sell against this. So really we're going to concentrate on two competitors in these next couple slides: Rexa, and like I said early, the Rodney Hunt Scuba. So Rodney Hunt's still in business as a valve company. They mimicked the Trident Actuator many years ago, building a unitized actuator, electric hydraulic actuator. This is not a Trident. And you will run across it as you're making sales calls on electric hydraulic and trying to sell the Trident. You may even hear, we always have to have the covers off. The accumulator always has issues with the nitrogen. Most likely it's a scuba. I've heard it in 1 week. I heard it 4 times between wells I was out in Texas at different municipalities and engineers and owners. And every time it was a scuba. So just ask, hey, is it a scuba or is it a Trident? One thing that doesn't help us is people confuse the two, and then Rodney Hunt does not support these anymore. So calling to get help on your scuba or work on it is not going to happen. So, just be clear on that. And like I said earlier, a great opportunity for retrofit for us. Getting those out and getting Tridents in is a huge retrofit opportunity for each of you. But if they say the cover's never on, people hate working on them, always have issues with accumulators, it's probably a scuba. The Rexa, they're our the biggest probably competitor you're going to hear in the market, the one that's going to be specified that you're going to go up against. So some advantages of us versus Rexa: we offer NEMA 6P panels, and our submergence on our actuators we've done 20 feet for 10 days continuous. Rexa, let me go back, says it has submersible capabilities, but as you're going to see a Rexa electric hydraulic on the next slides, I don't know how that is possible. Our surfaces and standard are 3/16 stainless, the base plate and the enclosure. Rexa uses a coated carbon steel. You want to talk about safety? These are high pressure lines inside of these electric hydraulic actuators, up to 3,000 PSI. Very dangerous. We use, as I said, the unitized 3/16 stainless. They have exposed hydraulic lines with hydraulic hose. Yes, we can use that if we need to based on vibration, but still it's going to be inside an enclosure. You'll see these are wide open and outside. Explosion proof. Our actuator is patented explosion proof, and we NEMA 7 enclosures, not specified by Rexa. Customization, everything's customizable. You'll see Rexa is limited. It really kind of reminds me of bolt-on. You'll see they just kind of bolt on as needed based on application. And then finally, the big one is Rexa does have proprietary designs on their control panels. So like Oklahoma, they have a Houston service area. You get they get a Rexa installed. They're going to tell them you have to buy parts for your control panel from them, and you have to send one of their service techs out to do anything with it. We have no proprietary needs on our panels. We build them as the customer wants them. They need stuff for inside them, they can go to their local supply house. So that's a big, that's a huge opportunity when you talk about going against Rexa.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Dave Williams here.
Sure.
Hey, just a couple of quick questions, just as I'm listening to all this. Just want to ask some things. So
Yep.
You meant the submersibility. Is that standard? I mean, in other words, is every one of your actuators going to be, submersible, or is that you keep using the word customizable? Is that something you can do upon request, or is that a standard item?
That's pretty much a standard item, because our standard would be that 3/16 base plate and enclosure.
Okay.
If you go to an aluminum or something different, we can't guarantee submergence. But yes, that's our standard.
Okay. All right. As far as explosion proof, I saw you were talking about the controls relative to that. So that's your NEMA 7 controls. Is that a standard, or is that I would assume that's an upgrade to go to NEMA 7, right?
Yes. Yeah, that would definitely be an upgrade. Our stainless steel enclosure is the same enclosure that's submersible and actually has a patent for the explosion proof. So that's pretty standard for the actuator. But when it goes to control panel, yeah, you would go to upgrade for that to a NEMA 7.
Okay. Yeah. So you could just do NEMA 4X or whatever if you wanted it.
Yeah, our standard panel would be a NEMA 4X. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that's a good question. So if we know it's submersible, that like we had one just recently with our partner up in New York said, hey, we need submergence. It needs to be able to be submerged to 10 days. We know with that need, we would say, okay, is the control panel, we would obviously want to know where the control panel is being mounted. If that could be, and if that's going to be an area where it's going to be, submerged, we would make 6P control panel. We would definitely do the submersible cable from the actuator to there. So
okay,
that would be a definite thing. Or if someone said explosion proof right off the bat, we're going to NEMA 7. But if they just said, hey, like the one that Matthew came to us for your company at the time, we didn't need all that. So we would 4X panel, but our standard actuator itself has the explosion proof submersibility capability.
Okay.
But like we had some recent presentations, Dave, in Texas and Dallas, right? And those people are like, we don't need submergence. It doesn't, we don't get submerged here. We don't, so they're like, we don't need all that. We just want a fiberglass cover. We're like, that's fine. And most people don't need submergence till they need submergence, right? Till it's happened. But then there's some areas, right? You get on the coast where you're at, or even, some of those places, even in the Alabama, Florida panhandle, like you guys cover, you all know submergence can happen anytime. So, obviously Atlanta's a little different, but standard, our actuator is going to be prepared for that.
Oh, there's been some major floods that have caused some major damage down at City of Atlanta plants.
Oh yeah. Yes, you're right. And every time they had a lot of rain coming from the Chattahoochee down, flooding Helen all the way through. So yeah, I mean, but we had that one end user out there, and it was in Dallas, said, no, we don't need all that. Okay, well, you're going to lose capacity, but that's our stuff.
Good enough. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So here's some Rexa electro-hydraulic actuators. Some are actually, obviously, it's the linear. It's just opening and closing. It's mounted horizontally. There was some rotaries in here, and I don't remember which is which. Here's their panel. Very simple panel. This one's horizontally mounted. This one's mounted vertically. Just like I said, I feel like it's bolt-on. So here's an accumulator. This is their, nitrogen accumulator that's pressurized in the fail-safe. But then over here is an accumulator. They just kind of feel like bolt-on. I talk about the exposed. These are all their.
So no enclosures?
No enclosures. No, sir.
Period. So they can't do submersible.
They say they can. That's why I say their marketing data says it, but I don't know how that's possible if you look at this. So
based on what you're seeing, yeah.
Yeah. No enclosures.
Okay.
And like I said, you got these, hydraulic lines exposed. I mean, that's, you're high pressure hydraulic if something happens. So that's why, like I said, we go over and then go to this slide and you go, oh yeah, hold on. I don't see how this is submersible as well. So one thing I would tell you, make sure, and we had this happen too. Someone said, well, we got the Rexa panels down here in a water plant. So I went down there. Well, they were just the electromechanical. They did not have an accumulator. Those are things to look for. You'll see an oil reservoir. They didn't have any of that. It was like, these are not electrohydraulic. So there's a big difference. Some of you may carry electromechanical. Some of our sales partners do. That's fine. I mean, that's where you'd say, hey, get rid of that Rexa and buy my Alma. But we're just not going to play in that market based on price. But when you start seeing hydraulic lines and you're seeing accumulators, it's electro hydraulic Rexa. And like I said, it just kind of bolt on, seems like. Gonna go through some case studies, because one thing, as we've signed up sales partners, everyone goes, well, not everywhere in our territory do you have 90-inch valves, things like that. And you're going to see in a lot of these case studies, our actuators aren't mounted on 90-inch valves all the time. This is the largest capacity wise I talked about in New York City on a wastewater treatment plant. Those pictures you saw before, these are the actual control panels where there's 3 actuators inside each panel. These are a story higher than the actuators. And like I said, here's the gates. That's the cylinder to open the gates, and here's your actuator. So our actuator doesn't need to be mounted on this gate to work. Your cylinder's here, the actuator's here. Here's a smaller actuator that we actually had installed, because there was 4 bay gates that were smaller. So once again, for the 84 by 146 inch gate, this actuator is different than the 36 by 48. You can't tell here, but we actually have a NEMA 7 panel just open and close. So in this application, they had these control panels inside their control mission room, if you want to say. They had HMI and the knobs, and then they had a control panel down here, and these were NEMA 7 near the actuators to open and close. So like I said, you talk about customability, we can do it. And this was the one that they wanted an emergency backup generator. I think it was like a 34 kW. Typically, we're not providing that. That was required here. But so this is wastewater treatment on influent gates. We have quite a few in Metropolitan Sewer District, St. Louis. This is actually for flooding on gates. So this is flood control. Obviously, a pretty big gate there. These are 3,500 linear fail-safe. And these actually have been installed, and we did replace them since 2000 on this project. So after about 20 years, they did want a replacement. We didn't require it; they asked for it. Here's clean water in Texas. You can see the actuators. Oop! Oh, I did that right around here on the pump control valves. Here's the control panels. These are all 35-inch or 3,500 linear fail-safe. They were on 20 and 36-inch valves. And one thing different, I said earlier, 10 seconds for those 30-inch valves that we had in the shop. They want a 15-minute close time on the fail-safe because of water hammer. I mean, these pumps are pumping hundreds of miles. These pumps are pumping hundreds of miles of this clean water to different areas. Once again, 36-inch, 20-inch. They're not all these enormous valves. Same thing, we used Brazos River Authority pumping some clean drinking water on a 36-inch cone valve on the pump controls. Been installed for 20 years now. This was the one you saw, Southern Nevada. Same thing, clean water, raw water pump station. Here's our actuators, pump control valves. These are on some 48-inch ball valves. This one's actually a 3000, so it's not the fail-safe, doesn't have the accumulator, the hydraulic manifold and all. But this had a NEMA 7 included. You can see the panel there is NEMA 7. This was for modulating valves, so our actuator was constantly moving the valve, so it had to be reliable, and this has been in place since 1998. A lot of New York City, a lot of our stuff in New York City is sewage. These are on some influent sluice gates. Another New York City, this is on a pump control valve. And this actually was underwater for 1 week during Hurricane Sandy. So been in operation since 2009 and still operating. I like this one because this is pumping some gray water, but it's literally in the desert. So on a 24-inch valve, I mean, you see it out here exposed in the elements. Our reliable actuators pretty much can go anywhere. We did a nice project with Baltimore County DPW. Everything there is we do sewage with them. These were on 14-inch cone valves. They put 5 and they installed. So, like I said, everything doesn't have to be some crazy, big valve for us to be. We want the critical valves. If it's critical, we want to be there, no matter the size. This one's cool. You talk about reliability. You only know they're here because, let me go back. You only know they're here because you see our panels at the street. We have 2 actuators underground and on Congress Street in DC, and they're on some sluice gates. And basically, DC Water went with us because they needed reliability. They couldn't dig up, Capitol Street every time something happened. So these have been installed for 10 years with no interruption of service. So it goes back to reliability. And we have some nice projects, especially around the DC area. So if you have Army Corps jobs, we have some nice references. I want to expand that, but here's a job. We have a lot of, this one had 15 actuators on a large pumping station for aqueducts there in Washington, DC for Army Corps. So a lot of opportunity. We have some nice references for Army Corps if you get opportunities with them, especially with all the spending they have. And you can see this is actually, it's mounted horizontally. So, and you can see this, this is just a different, we did some customization with this one as well. It's not our typical enclosure that you see. So once again, reliable, customizable, and on critical applications. So finally, I know you've heard me talk a lot. I appreciate Dave jumping in there for some questions. you probably are getting emails if you didn't yesterday. We have upcoming sessions the 9th, the 16th, the 21st, and 28th of March. We set them all for about an hour and a half. What I would tell you is if you see more, we've asked basically when we signed up the contracts, hey, who do you want? Give us who needs to be on these training sessions. If you see more people need to attend, all I need you to send is an email to me and Chris with names, emails, and their cell phones. We'll add them to the database. So you got service that you want to be inside of this, engineers, inside sales. We don't care who's on it. We want more the merrier to learn about our product. Yeah, they probably don't want to hear my voice. I'm tired of hearing my voice, but that's a different story. But whoever you deem that needs to be on here, please just email us so we can add them. But 4 more sessions in March. And really, that's all I had. I'm gonna stop.
Mike?
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dave again. And I don't know if you're keeping a list of everybody that's attending.
Yes, we are.
Okay. And forgive me, I should know this about who's attending from our company, but I'm having a hard time keeping up these days. Things are flying everywhere.
Yeah, no problem. So at the end of this, what Dennis does is keep a list of who was actually on it, not who signed up. We do know who signed up. And then that's how I'm sending out this. So what I'll do, Dave, is I'll let you know who's attending on your, and I know Matthew did because I saw him on one, but I'll shoot you an email just saying, hey, who's attended thus far, so not an issue.
No, that'd be great. And then I can tickle him with a follow-up email and ask him to get on to one of those in March. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So,
and also that goes to say, for other folks, if you have other colleagues that may not have attended the training yet, definitely worth just reminding them. We sent out reminders for the March dates earlier this week, so anybody who who should attend one of these, definitely be great to have a kind of soft nudge from you, if possible. That we would appreciate that.
Yeah, and also to Dave's point, if you need the list, it's I literally Dennis keeps up with it. I have access to it. I can shoot you an email saying here's who's attended for sure. It's not an issue. I know a lot of you are real busy, so but I will send this to everyone that's attended today. I know that's a lot for an hour, but hey, we want you to call us. We want to help you. Don't think you're solo on this journey at all. Dennis, Chris, did I miss anything by chance? I think I've gotten pretty good at not missing anything, but
I think you did a great job.
You're good, Mike.
Okay, perfect. Any questions from Brian, Zach? I know Dave had some questions, and I see it starts with an M, and I want to Hassan. I don't know what the M is. If it's
Max.
Max.
Michael.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with Han Equipment.
Awesome. Actually, I'll be out there in Houston giving that presentation on the 20th.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I actually live in Nacogdoches, north of there, so I got to drive down to it myself. So,
okay, yeah, no, they're awfully excited about that with everyone coming, flight and everything. So it sounds like it's gonna be quite a show.
Yeah, we had a good turnout last year. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for attending, Max.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll get this out to y'all. If you have questions, you want to add people, just let us know. Thank you for your time today, and I hope everyone has a great day. I'm in Nevada, so it's still morning for me, so I got a little bit longer of a day ahead of me. But have a great day, and thank you so much, and let's sell some Trident actuators.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Everyone.
Thank you, everybody.